welcome everyone to another vlog. We're going to be going over the Life Journal reading plan again. Sorry about missing yesterday, but we're going to get it done today, October the 9th. So, I'm going to show you a short clip on what app you need to get on the phone to follow this reading plan, and I'm going to show that to you right now. Alright, so what you're going to want to do is go to the Play Store. Then you're going to want to go in the search bar. You're going to look up Bible. It's going to be this one right here that says installed. You're going to install that app. Once it's done installing, you're going to open it. So there's the home button to the very left, and then here's this little check button in the middle. You're going to press on the check button. Then your Life Journal reading plan is going to come up. You're going to press on that. And then today is October 4th. And this is your reading plan for the day. So we went over Esther, Esther 2, Psalms, and Luke. That's what we're going to go over. And it goes by day. Now when you press on it, you can read along and read all the way down. And if you don't feel like reading and you want to listen to it, you can press play.
Nobles and officials, the military leaders of Persia and Media, the princes and the nobles of the provinces were present. For a full 180 days he displayed the vast wealth of his kingdom and the splendor and glory of his majesty.
So that's it. So download this app. Once again, plans, and press on Life Journal. And yeah, this is what home will look like. Alright. Welcome back. So now that you have that app to follow along with the Life Journal reading plan, we're gonna jump in on October the 9th in Nehemiah, and you can either read in your Bible, or you can read on the app, or you can listen to it on the app, or you can listen to it with me right now. And if you read it at home or listened to it at home and you didn't listen along with me, you're going to be able to jump ahead in this video, and I'm going to have timestamps of when we're writing down in our life journals what we took away from those verses. So if you want to just jump ahead to that, look down below and there'll be timestamps to just jump ahead when I'm discussing what I took away, and comment what you took away. Alright, let's jump right on in.
The Book of Nehemiah, Chapter 1. The words of Nehemiah, son of Hakaliah. In the month of Kislev, in the 20th year, while I was in the citadel of Susa, Hanani, one of my brothers, came from Judah with some other men, and I questioned them about the Jewish remnant that had survived the exile, and also about Jerusalem. They said to me, "Those who survived the exile and are back in the province are in great trouble and disgrace. The wall of Jerusalem is broken down, and its gates have been burned with fire." When I heard these things, I sat down and wept. For some days I'd mourned and fasted and prayed before the God of heaven. Then I said, "Lord, the God of heaven, the great and awesome God, who keeps his covenant of love with those who love him and keep his commandments, let your ear be attentive and your eyes open to hear the prayer your servant is praying before you day and night for your servants, the people of Israel. I confess the sins we Israelites, including myself and my father's family, have committed against you. We have acted very wickedly toward you. We have not obeyed the commands, decrees, and laws you gave your servant Moses. Remember the instruction you gave your servant Moses, saying, 'If you are unfaithful, I will scatter you among the nations. But if you return to me and obey my commands, then even if your exiled people are at the farthest horizon, I will gather them from there and bring them to the place I have chosen as a dwelling for my name. They are your servants and your people, whom you redeemed by your great strength and your mighty hand. Lord, let your ear be attentive to the prayer of this your servant, and to the prayer of your servants who delight in revering your name. Give your servant success today by granting him favor in the presence of this man. I was cupbearer to the king." Nehemiah 2. In the month of Nisan, in the 20th year of King Artaxerxes, when wine was brought for him, I took the wine and gave it to the king. I had not been sad in his presence before, so the king asked me, "Why does your face look so sad when you are not ill? This can be nothing but sadness of heart." I was very much afraid, but I said to the king, "May the king live forever. Why should my face not look sad when the city where my ancestors are buried lies in ruins, and its gates have been destroyed by fire?" The king said to me, "What is it you want?" Then I prayed to the God of heaven, and I answered the king, "If it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor in his sight, let him send me to the city in Judah where my ancestors are buried so that I can rebuild it." Then the king, with the queen sitting beside him, asked me, "How long will your journey take, and when will you get back?" It pleased the king to send me, so I set a time. I also said to him, "If it pleases the king, may I have letters to the governors of Trans-Euphrates so that they will provide me safe conduct until I arrive in Judah? And may I have a letter to Asaph, keeper of the royal park, so he will give me timber to make beams for the gates of the citadel by the temple, and for the city wall, and for the residence I will occupy." And because the gracious hand of my God was on me, the king granted my requests. So I went to the governors of Trans-Euphrates and gave them the king's letters. The king had also sent army officers and cavalry with me. When Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the Ammonite official heard about this, they were very much disturbed that someone had come to promote the welfare of the Israelites. I went to Jerusalem, and after staying there 3 days, I set out during the night with a few others. I had not told anyone what my God had put in my heart to do for Jerusalem. There were no mounts with me except the one I was riding on. By night I went out through the valley gate toward the Jackal Well and the Dung Gate, examining the walls of Jerusalem which had been broken down, and its gates which had been destroyed by fire. Then I moved on toward the Fountain Gate and the King's Pool, but there was not enough room for my mount to get through. So I went up the valley by night, examining the wall. Finally I turned back and re-entered through the Valley Gate. The officials did not know where I had gone, or what I was doing, because as yet I had said nothing to the Jews, or the priests, or nobles, or officials, or any others who would be doing the work. Then I said to them, "You see the trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, and we will no longer be in disgrace." I also told them about the gracious hand of my God on me, and what the king had said to me. They replied, "Let us start rebuilding." So they began this good work. But when Sanballat the Horonite, Tobiah the Ammonite official, and Geshem the Arab heard about it, they mocked and ridiculed us. "What is this you are doing?" they asked. "Are you rebelling against the king?" I answered them by saying, "The God of heaven will give us success. We, his servants, will start rebuilding. But as for you, you have no share in Jerusalem or any claim or historic right to it."
Wow. So what I basically took away from that was there was a lot of people that basically weren't in touch with God at the time, and God had his hand on him, and basically because he had God's hand on him, the king allowed him to do a bunch of stuff. And that's one of the things I keep seeing in some of these older scriptures, is whether it's a king of Jerusalem or a king of, doesn't matter where, usually God pressures, or they're smart enough to know to when it's one of God's people that God is touched and is doing God's actual will, they give them a free pass to do what they need to do, and they get to pretty much stay in power. But yeah, him having the hand of God on him to go and do his will while other people persecuted him and stuff. So that's basically what I took away, is him having the hand of God on him, and even though people were trying to persecute and stop what he was trying to do with rebuilding the gates and stuff, he was getting it done, and yeah. So that's what I took away from that part. So I'm going to write that down real quick. And I'm going to cut ahead to the start of the next reading part. Alright, so I just wrote that down. And now we're going to be going into Psalms 133. So let's start that.
Psalm 133, a song of ascents of David. How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. It is like precious oil poured on the head, running down on the beard, running down on Aaron's beard, down on the collar of his robe. It is as if the dew of Hermon were falling on Mount Zion, for there the Lord bestows his blessing, even life forevermore. Luke 22.
I'm going to listen to that one more time.
Psalm 133, a song of ascents of David. How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. It is like precious oil poured on the head, running down on the beard, running down on Aaron's beard, down on the collar of his robe. It is as if the dew of Hermon were falling on Mount Zion, for there the Lord bestows his blessing, even life forevermore.
Alright, so basically what I took away from that is when God's people are working together, when God's people are in unity and working together and is as one, it's the equivalent to a perfect sunset. It's equivalent to waking up in the morning and having that perfect dew outside, and the sunshine everything's just right in that moment. That's pretty much what I take away, is when God's people are as one, everything is just right in that moment. So that's what I took away. So that's what I'm going to write down. Alright, now that we're back and now that I just got done writing down Psalm 133, now we're going to jump into Luke 22. Alright, here we go.
Luke 22. Now the festival of unleavened bread, called the Passover, was approaching, and the chief priests and the teachers of the law were looking for some way to get rid of Jesus, for they were afraid of the people. Then Satan entered Judas, called Iscariot, one of the 12. And Judas went to the chief priests and the officers of the temple guard and discussed with them how he might betray Jesus. They were delighted and agreed to give him money. He consented and watched for an opportunity to hand Jesus over to them when no crowd was present. Then came the day of unleavened bread, on which the Passover lamb had to be sacrificed. Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Go and make preparation for us to eat the Passover." "Where do you want us to prepare for it?" they asked. He replied, "As you enter the city, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him to the house that he enters, and say to the owner of the house, 'The teacher asks, where is the guest room where I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' He will show you a large room upstairs, all furnished. Make preparations there." They left and found things just as Jesus had told them, so they prepared the Passover. When the hour came, Jesus and his apostles reclined at the table, and he said to them, "I have eagerly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I tell you, I will not eat it again until it finds fulfillment in the kingdom of God." After taking the cup, he gave thanks and said, "Take this and divide it among you. For I tell you, I will not drink again from the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes." And he took bread, gave thanks, and broke it, and gave it to them, saying, "This is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same way, after supper, he took the cup, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you. But the hand of him who is going to betray me is with mine on the table. The Son of Man will go as it has been decreed, but woe to that man who betrays him." They began to question among themselves which of them it might be who would do this. A dispute also arose among them as to which of them was considered to be greatest. Jesus said to them, "The kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who exercise authority over them call themselves benefactors. But you are not to be like that. Instead, the greatest among you should be like the youngest, and the one who rules like the one who serves. For who is greater, the one who is at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who's at the table? But I am among you as one who serves. You are those who have stood by me in my trials. And I confer on you a kingdom, just as my Father conferred one on me, so that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Simon, Simon, Satan is asked to sift all of you as wheat, but I have prayed for you, Simon, that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers." But he replied, "Lord, I am ready to go with you to prison and to death." Jesus answered, "I tell you, Peter, before the rooster crows today, you will deny 3 times that you know me." Then Jesus asked them, "When I sent you without purse, bag, or sandals, did you lack anything?" "Nothing," they answered. He said to them, "But now if you have a purse, take it, and also a bag. And if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. It is written, 'And he was numbered with the transgressors.' And I tell you that this must be fulfilled in me. Yes, what is written about me is reaching its fulfillment." The disciples said, "See, Lord, here are 2 swords." "That's enough," he replied. Jesus went out as usual to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. On reaching the place, he said to them, "Pray that you will not fall into temptation." He withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them, knelt down and prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me. Yet not my will, but yours be done. An angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. When he rose from prayer and went back to the disciples, he found them asleep, exhausted from sorrow. "Why are you sleeping?" he asked them. "Get up and pray so that you will not fall into temptation." While he was still speaking, a crowd came up, and the man who was called Judas, one of the 12, was leading them. He approached Jesus to kiss him, but Jesus asked him, "Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?" When Jesus' followers saw what was going to happen, they said, "Lord, should we strike with our swords?" And one of them struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his right ear. But Jesus answered, "No more of this." And he touched the man's ear and healed him. Then Jesus said to the chief priests, the officers of the temple guard, and the elders who had come for him, "Am I leading a rebellion, that you have come with swords and clubs? Every day I was with you in the temple court, and you did not lay a hand on me. But this is your hour, when darkness reigns." Then seizing him, they led him away and took him into the house of the high priest. Peter followed at a distance. And when some there had kindled a fire in the middle of the courtyard and had sat down together, Peter sat down with them. A servant girl saw him seated there in the firelight. She looked closely at him and said, "This man was with him." But he denied it. "Woman, I don't know him," he said. A little later someone else saw him and said, "You also are one of them." "Man, I am not," Peter replied. About an hour later another asserted, "Certainly this fellow was with him, for he is a Galilean." Peter replied, "Man, I don't know what you're talking about." Just as he was speaking, the rooster crowed. The Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. Then Peter remembered the word the Lord had spoken to him. "Before the rooster crows today, you will disown me 3 times." And he went outside and wept bitterly. The men who were guarding Jesus began mocking and beating him. They blindfolded him and demanded, "Prophesy, who hit you?" And they said many other insulting things to him. At daybreak the council of the elders of the people, both the chief priest and the teachers of the law, met together, and Jesus was led before them. "If you are the Messiah," they said, "tell us." Jesus answered, "If I tell you, you will not believe me, and if I asked you, you would not answer. But from now on, the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the mighty God." They all asked, "Are you then the Son of God?" He replied, "You say that I am." Then they said, "Why do we need any more testimony? We have heard it from his own lips."
Wow. So, there's a couple things to take away from there. So, first thing is I don't remember the part that when they I knew they had swords with them when the priest from the temple came to the olive grove and tried to grab Jesus, but I don't remember that one of them chopped off the ears of one of the servants of the priest, and that Jesus healed him right there. You would think, like, you're going to go grab a man, you know what you're planning. You're gonna go grab him. You're gonna put him up on some trumped up charges, and then you're gonna try and get him executed. You're gonna try to do whatever damage you can to him. And when he's like, "Yo, I've been in the temple for a long time, and none of you guys have tried to do me harm. And now you guys come up here with swords, trying to take me away as if I'm leading a rebellion. My man just chopped off your man's ear. I told them to lay down their swords, and then I healed your man in front of you." Like, I don't understand how they can sit there after that and just haul him off. The other thing is I don't understand how people in that time when Jesus kept giving them premonition, telling them the future of what's going to happen, and then them seeing it over and over again or whatever it was, and then them just keep denying it, or thinking somehow it's not going to happen. I don't get that part. So mostly, let's see, what do I mostly take away from that though? Probably the fact that Jesus kept giving premonitions and people just wouldn't listen. The other thing is that he made a covenant with us, and whenever we eat the bread or drink the wine, whenever we partake of that ritual, it's a remembrance of the covenant he made with us. That's probably the most important thing to take away from it. I just trying to dissect other things that I don't remember hearing or whatever, because I know the other parts. But yeah, I'm gonna write that down right now, and I will see you guys on the next one. Write down your thoughts in your journal or comment them and tell me what you took away, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right. Peace.